What is up, everyone? I do not have an introduction for you today as I want to go ahead and just get started. I have my great friend Tasha here. We are going to dive deep into talking about the fitness industry, body positivity movement, and racism in America. I just want to go ahead and tell y'all that I hope I don't offend anyone as we are just having a conversation between two friends. It's more for my growth because I'm trying to learn and grow, and I hope that someone else does too. If the sound is a little distorted, we were at a coffee shop where it's a little echoey and there was a heater blowing in the background. So just bear with us. But I also want to let you know that we do talk about a clip that Tasha posted on her Instagram story, which I have posted at the end of this podcast with Tasha's permission. So stick around and listen to that because it's an amazing inspirational piece that Tasha posted back in Blackout Tuesday. So we're about to get started and here we go, guys. What is up, everyone? Welcome back to the Babbles Nonsense podcast. I'm sitting at the camp, alchemy, the green room, whatever you want to call it, with Tasha. I don't even know how to describe this lady. I don't even want to not give the best introduction, but you are everything. Wow. You're an influencer, you're a counselor, you're a fitness guru, you're an activist. So I'm going to let you introduce yourself so I do not embarrass you.
No, well, I mean, you can just introduce me as your girl. You know, I tell people that I am literally just Tasha from the block. You know, those titles can get people caught up in a different image. I'm like, I'm just your girl. Like,
no, you are. But I mean, you're so much more than that too. That's why I wanted to have you on this podcast because your voiceover, we had a conversation before this podcast started because we had to catch up on live because we haven't seen each other in a hot minute.
Right.
But we were talking about friendships and how everything's different in the world, but we were also talking about influencing and things like that and how it's all different. Mm-hmm. But what I wanted to jump into before we started about all that, and I asked Tasha if it was okay if we spoke about this, was the BLM movement and everything that happened in 2020.
Yeah.
So I think what struck me the most with you, because I followed you forever. You were my first. Let me just back up. She was my first personal trainer who kicked my ass, guys.
On crutches and a boot.
Yes, like making me do shit I've never even heard of in my entire life. Running on a stair climber at maximum speed, and then walking up a wall backwards after your legs feel like Jello. Like who the hell?
That was fun. Girl, that was 2014 because that's when I had my surgery, my Achilles surgery. That's how I remember.
Because you made me run upstairs and then walk backwards up a wall like I'm not going to just fall on my head. and then I remember you tried to get me to do them kickbacks on that machine. You were like, you can't lift it. And I was like, no.
I was ambitious as a trainer, but part of that agreement was that you would allow me to test things on you. We had just got new equipment.
Yes.
And there were things that I could do with you that I couldn't do with my older clients or things like that. So it was more like an adventure.
Yeah. And I think for both of us. It kicked my ass.
Yeah. It was fun.
It was fun. I would love to do that again.
It was fun. That was almost 7 years ago.
Girl, I've known you since 2011.
Wow. Dang it.
That's when I moved down here and I met you in the gym.
Yeah. That's 10 years.
I know.
Wow.
And we don't ever get to see each other anymore because you're so busy.
I know.
Well, and COVID.
I know. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
But also when you were training me, the best part of your training, I think, is your counseling background that a lot of people don't know about because I was going through a really bad breakup and you helped me the most through that because you gave me such life inspiration. It was like, girl, just don't worry about that man.
Yeah.
I mean, it was more than that. It was deeper than that, but it really did help me get over that. So thank you for that. You probably didn't know that you did that.
I didn't. And I have really gotten into this whole thing about, if you see, like I have on a shirt, y'all, that says move, change, heal. But there's a healing that you can offer people while they're moving. You know, the issue is that one of the things, the space that I'm really in and that I feel like I've always been in, you know, you can have all the awesome programs. You're going to do 500 squats a day. But if you're so depressed that you can't get out of bed, your workout program means nothing.
Yep.
You know, and so it was, how do I have a conversation or create a relationship where people trusted me to feel like they could say, I'm struggling this morning. I have seasonal affective disorder. I'm getting a divorce. You know, I've been binge eating. You know, I've been drinking every night. And these are like real life situations that people felt like they couldn't share to the outside world because we're so caught up in who we want people to think we are.
Yep.
When everybody you see on the street literally has an issue.
Oh, I say that all the time. When people will see my photos that I post on Instagram, they're like, "Oh, you're so cute." And I'm like, "Yeah, with 5 filters, fake eyelashes, and some lip filler." This ain't me. I'm letting you see what I want you to see. But did you also know I just got through crying in the bathroom before I took this picture?
Yeah.
No, because no one tells you that.
Yeah.
Or tells you that that's who you are.
Yeah. But that's true and I'm glad you said that as far as quote unquote influencers, because I think we're all influencers. Influencer is a buzzword, but all of us are influencing people one way or the other. Even if it's your kids, your neighbor, you always have a space of influence. And so it's one of the reasons why I have a lip gloss addiction. And it was because I'd cry all the way to work. Literally, I'd cry all the way to work. And I'm sitting in a parking lot. I have to go in and teach Zumba. I am like, my whole life is falling apart. Like for years, everything that happened to me happened on a Monday, which is when I taught Zumba. And so it was like
damn those Mondays.
It was like a Wonder Woman change.
Yeah.
You know, like I'd have to wipe my face, make sure, you know, if I had eye drops, I'd put on lip gloss. And the minute I put it on, I'm like, let's go. You know, even if I cried when I got in the car and cried all the way home, it was a thing but it started because I wanted to put up a front like I was good.
Worked because I never knew that you were going through a lot of what you were going through then until recently.
Yeah, most people didn't, you know, and we have learned to hide, and specifically Black women have been taught to, I don't want to say hide, but it's like a superwoman thing. You know, like we have this space in communities where we're the fixers, even when we don't want to be. We are expected to come in and save the day. And so the whole strong Black woman thing is one of those things that I despise the title, because we're forced to be strong. You know, you're forced to, if you're thinking about, you know, a Fannie Lou Hamer who basically lost her job because she wanted the right to vote and wanted to fight for other people. You're not strong because you want to be. You don't have a choice.
Yeah.
And I think that's kind of where that came from. But it also dehumanizes Black women, because the first thing people will tell me, and Black women and white women, you're so strong. I wish I was strong like you. No, I'm strong because I have to be. I haven't been given a choice in 45 years. I have to be.
And it's funny that you say that. Well, not funny, but I followed this other girl on Instagram that I've found through when everything was going on in 2020. I think it's I am Tiffany. I don't want to mess it up, but great body positivity lady. She's a Black lady. She talks about the BLM movement and body positivity because she had eating disorders. But she also just recently talked about that on her Instagram, about how being a Black woman and having an eating disorder is taboo. You're not allowed to talk about it.
Right. Because people don't think we have them. And it's one of the things why people are shocked when I say I've had anorexia and binge eating. And they're like, well, anorexia is for skinny white girls.
Yeah, that's what she said.
And
it's
my thing is, yeah, but when they say skinny, I'm like, well, how do you think you get skinny? By starving yourself, you know? And it is taboo as a Black woman, because people are like, what? We don't get eating disorders. But the other thing is that I say it not to call people out, but to help give people courage, because all these people you are following, you don't know what they're doing to look the way that they look to please you. And
it took me the longest time to figure that out, because I'm not a skinny person. Like people tell me all the time, oh, you're so skinny. I'm actually not. I force myself into a mold because I'm actually a curvier person. I have a little bitty butt, whatever. And it's hard for me to get small, but everybody compliments me the smaller I get.
Absolutely.
And it's annoying.
Absolutely. And it feeds into your dysfunction.
Yes.
You know, when I tell people, like, 10.5 years ago, I was so stressed and sick that I couldn't eat anything but oatmeal for 2 months. I got down to 138 pounds. I looked like a bobblehead. But the smaller I got, the more people complimented me. I am dying. I am literally trying to teach 15 to 20 classes a week on oatmeal. And I'm sick. But in my mind, when I saw 140, I'm like, oh, People aren't going to compliment you anymore. At 148, I hired a trainer, not because I wanted to be stronger, but because I was fat.
But you weren't fat at 148. But in
my mind, and so over the years, everything, there are certain life changes that you just absolutely have no control over. And that is what forces you back into eating disorders, because you're like, I can't control that. I tell you what I can control.
My food.
Yeah, my food. But it flip-flops. To have two eating disorders is really odd, because even now I can go either way. Mm-hmm. My emotions can send me either way. I get on the scale. I'm like, I haven't been this size in 18 years. Great. I'm either not going to eat, or I'm going to eat what the hell I want, because I'm always going to be big, and I don't think that I don't want to say people don't get cured, but I haven't, because it's always a side note, like a little sticky note somewhere saying at any time we can end up back in this space. And so to be surrounded by people who are lying about, they're perfect, they're not challenged with their eating, just in this environment in Huntsville, which is not big. I know instructors specifically in my space who are basically killing themselves to be seen as these fitness models.
Yep.
And I feel it was a disdain for them. And now I feel sorry for them, because I'm like, you know what? People would connect to you better if you were honest.
Yeah.
And that's the space that I'm in right now.
Which I'm so happy this body positivity movement has blown up, because people are actually like pulling up their shirts and saying, this is actually what I look like.
Yeah.
I can also look like this when I pose a certain way.
Right.
And I do appreciate that, because I have had disordered eating. I've never been anorexic, but I have cut my calories down to 800 a day, which is almost there.
Yeah.
But like you said, it still goes back when people compliment you when you lose weight because of stress and they don't know what's going on in your life. You're like, oh, so maybe I should lose weight because I only look good this way.
Right. And disordered. I love that you just said that, because people think it's anorexia or nothing.
No, it's
no
disordered. Like when I drink a coffee or look at a margarita, in my mind, I'm sitting there going, am I going to gain weight from this?
Exactly. And that can be, we try to exchange the two, disorder from discipline.
Yes.
I'm just disciplined in my food. No. I'm just disciplined. No. And you're never going to get help for it if you keep telling yourself that is discipline. And there can oftentimes be a very fine line. One of the things, like right now, I'm in a space of logging my food, number one, because I realized what I wasn't getting in my diet. Also to notice my habits.
Yes.
So for this period, but if I start to feel that, oh, well, I lost a pound this week. Well, if I cut my calories down 500 more, then I could lose. That's when it shifts to disorder. So it can be feedback, but it's just one of those spaces that you have to really get clear for yourself. And, I have a 17-year-old. And first of all, let me just say her body is perfect. Like she is perfect.
She is.
And, but I saw something that she posted and she said she was most, the thing that she felt the least confident was about her body.
Really?
And it broke me. It broke me because I started thinking about, are there ways that I contributed to that? Like if I'm in the kitchen counting points in front of her, I can't have that, and we were in the parking lot of Trader Joe's, like last year, and I had bought this like grapefruit spritzer or whatever. And I took a sip out of it and I was like, this is too good to be 0 calories. And I looked at it and I said, oh my God. I mean, like really, like, like there was a bear in a parking lot. I was like, oh my God, this is 180 calories. And literally my daughter looked at me and said, why don't you just drink that? But it was that awareness of, I don't get on the scale in front of her ever in life because when she was younger, I did. And so she's 5. Mommy, how many pounds do I got? She wanted to get on the scale because she saw me doing it. And so while part of my struggle, Jonna, is that I have never been this size in my daughter's life, ever. But I feel that there is such power in letting her watch, because she's like, oh no, my friends say your mom looks super athletic. Like you're going to be a real star. And I'm like, what? Because kids now are breaking out of this thing.
Yeah.
They're out in the street wearing, God bless them, aqua color. I'm talking about my own kid, aqua color, Crocs with they don't give AF.
No.
At all. And I like that, but I want her to feel that she doesn't have to cover her body because somebody's going to be looking at her.
Yeah.
It's such a fine line about how do you teach? This is just who you are, baby. You can embrace that.
Like me being my size, I know I'm not overweight. I work out. I still hate wearing crop tops because I'm afraid people are looking at me going, why are you wearing a crop top?
Yeah.
My friends are like, what the hell? Wear a freaking crop top. If I had your body, I'd wear a crop top. And I'm like,
Yeah. But the thing about it is all of us have I call it a fighting weight, because you could be 140 pounds, but if you're used to being 120,
yep,
there's a whole different feeling of adjustment. And as you get older, body challenges become more frequent.
Well, me and you both kind of went through this. Like, we never finished our conversation from a while ago with, well, I got diagnosed with my thyroid disorders and I started gaining weight like crazy. And it's hard for me to get it off. Mm-hmm. And then I know you went through, did you end up having thyroid issues, or was it just more hormone related issues that was making you gain your weight? And you were like, what's going on? I work out, because you work out so much because you have to, you're a trainer.
Yeah. I think it was both.
Okay.
I think I did have some thyroid issues, under stress. My thyroid basically crashed.
Yeah.
And so it was my thyroid. It was cortisol levels. It was the fact that I had a hysterectomy at 35. Then I turned 40. And let me tell you, nobody tells you that you'll wake up one day after you turn 40 and stuff will not be in the same place. It happened to me when I was 30.
Yes.
And it happened to me when I was 40. And so I felt like my life was getting away from me. Gotcha. And there are times that I struggle looking at myself on video. There are times that I struggle looking at myself on camera because I am stuck. I mourn. I literally grieve who I used to be.
But, and I feel that, but I just want you to know you look amazing, like amazing. And like I said, what we were talking about earlier, when you speak, y'all, if y'all don't follow her on Instagram, like when she speaks, you just stop, the room just stops, like you listen, which I know we were just talking about that, but I want to bring up another story that kind of made me want you on this podcast, because I can't just talk about it on my own because I'm a white girl who's going to listen to me. And I'm not trying to offend anybody when I say that. I'm just trying to say, like, I can't tell a story because I haven't lived it. So Tasha, during 2020, posted an IGTV story.
Yeah.
That I watched and literally jaw dropped, tears ran down my face, because you talked about being a Black woman in the fitness industry and having to have more certifications than white thin women. I never in my mind, like that never crossed my mind that would be something you would have to struggle with, because number one, if you've ever attended Tasha's classes in Huntsville, this girl pours her heart and soul into it. Like I have to take 50,000 breaks and she ain't moved one time. She's like, come on guys. And I'm like, oh my God, you're killing me.
Yeah.
And that broke my heart. Yeah. Broke my heart for you. So when you talk about that, can you tell us a little bit about you being a Black woman in the fitness industry? Because I can't say I can empathize because color or whatever. I'm saying like being younger and not having social media and growing up to the thin white women in Hollywood. Yeah. Everyone thinks that's what we're supposed to look like as a young white woman. Yeah. And obviously everyone's body's different. I can't fit that mold.
Yeah. And I'm going to tell you, you're the only person I would answer that question for. Here's why. Because you know me, and so the buzz has been to get a Black woman on your show, have her, say how unfair she's been treated. Let's pat her on the back and follow her because she deserves. It's like, so I don't want anybody to rescue me, but because, and I think about.
I just honestly, it's not even for my podcast. Yeah. This is for me because I'm doing a lot of soul searching, which we'll talk about too. And I feel comfortable asking you.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And that's why we're having the conversation. Yeah. And one of the things that struck me even about talking about that was Rachel, who Rachel and I have worked at the gym together since 2007.
Okay.
Rachel had no idea. And she inboxed me like, oh my God, because here's the thing. There is truth to sincere ignorance, because it's something you never have to think about because it's not your experience, but also because we have been taught to be the strong Black woman. My job is to make sure you don't have to pay attention to it. That's what I've been trained to do. And so there was always things going on in the background, jobs that I was released from in fitness because I was told what I was good at wasn't in demand in the club. I was always the one. I wanted to teach yoga. I wanted to teach dance fitness. I can do the other stuff, but that's my space. But because I didn't want to teach body pump, or I wasn't part of the social club that was, the Les Mills crew or whatever. And I was always seeking things. I was the one that was traveling. I was the one that was paying for the extra certifications, but it was also like a piece of security, because if something happened with you, then I can go someplace else, which was oftentimes the case. The person that helped pay for my personal trainer certification told my Black coworker behind my back, which I didn't find out for years, I don't think she's going to make it. Fitness is not her thing.
What?
Yeah. Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Had she ever attended one of your classes?
But that's the thing, because I think I am somebody that you have to experience, because if you have those type of prejudices in your mind, and all of us have them about somebody, something, you will miss it, and it's like, I don't just like create a space for movement. I want to create experiences because I know what it's like to feel like you're not seen, you're not heard. Somebody disregards you because of your size, because of your age. I get all of that. And so the Black woman, in terms of, what quote unquote people think our bodies look like, it's like, it's always that thing, well, on the Black side, they're saying, first of all, you're doing that white girl shit. Number one, don't lose your booty. Then on the other hand, it's like being 145 pounds and everybody has a complaint.
So you're getting a double-edged sword.
Yeah.
On both sides.
Yeah. And that's the thing, because I felt like I had to justify myself for saying I'm a Black girl who teaches yoga and Pilates and bar, and then going into there having to feel like I had to prove my worth, because people would look at me and be like, oh, you're the teacher, and I cannot tell you how many times I've gotten that, how many times I've been asked, if you're qualified. I went into, and I may have mentioned this in a video, at my first Pilates class, I was working at a gym, and I was actually a salesperson, but I had been studying Pilates behind. The instructor gets fired that morning. I have to go teach the class because I'm the only person to have on jeans. And by the way, this person doesn't like Black people. Like, that was my introduction to go to go to the class, And so in positions where, I don't want to say Black people can't afford Pilates. That's not what I'm saying. And I don't want anybody to think that's what I'm saying. But we were also behind the curve, because if you think, Pilates blowing up in the 50s and 60s, we couldn't even vote. Yeah. Like, I don't have time to go do Pilates because I'm out here struggling, just trying to be acknowledged as a person of this country. We're behind the curve. We're still catching up. Jonna, that was 55 years ago. That wasn't 200 years ago.
Yeah. I think so. When you say that, like, I'm not trying to say I'm ignorant or anything like that, but I'm very fortunate. My mother raised me to not, I don't want to say don't see color, because that is, I have said that before, and reading books now, I'm like, oh, when I found out that was a problem, I texted every single one of my friends and said, I cannot believe I said that. What I meant was, I'm not judging you. Yeah. Because I grew up having Black friends. Like, I don't even remember ever or recalling going, Mom, why do they have different, like, that's just what it was. Yeah. We were poor. We grew up on the poor side of town. There was a bunch of Black kids there, and we were there, and it wasn't a problem. Yeah. So I'm very fortunate in that I didn't grow. So I know there's racism, but I did not know it was to the extent it was. So I've currently read 2 books, working on my 3rd. My first one was White Fragility. I don't know if you've heard of that.
I have. I've read that.
It was hard to get through. Yes. Very hard. I'm talking about when the stuff that she says, like, these things are racist and you may not know, like that I don't see color. Like, I was like, I've done that. And I don't consider myself racist, but I've done those things.
Yeah. not seeing color means that you don't acknowledge that my struggles are different than yours.
Yes.
Saying I don't see color, but you should.
Yeah.
Because there's some depth to my color. And it's also saying that, like I don't see size, I don't see age, I don't see neighborhoods. Okay. But you do.
Yeah.
But you do. And the only way that you can address what you think in the back of your head is to acknowledge what you see. We're all different for a reason, And so I would have students, who are like, but I don't see you that way. I don't see your color. You don't see me. But when you go out and you walk past, a Black person on the street, I think about, I was in Green Hills in Nashville. I have a Whole Foods grocery bag and a Coach purse, and I am going into Lululemon. And I walk past and a woman grabs her daughter, grabs her. And I'm like, first of all, I have 2 children of my own and I'm in Nashville today because I need to leave them to somebody because I need a break. And I definitely don't want your kid.
Yeah, I don't need another child.
Or I get in the elevator and somebody goes to the corner and kind of grabs their purse, like that sort of thing. It's like we have a fear of the unknown. I don't see your color, Tasha, because you're here teaching bar. But there's also a space that people saw me as, I used to say, people felt like I was the help. That's what I felt like. Like I'm here teaching you because I can't afford to be you, but I can afford to serve you, and there was a thing. And I don't think people were willing to connect that that's how they saw it.
Well, that's true. And in part of that book, like she says, it's not your fault for growing up in a white world where people don't teach you these things, because after reading these books, clearly we weren't taught the correct history.
Right.
And she said, it's not your fault that you were grown into this world, but what is your fault is when you hear something or see something wrong and you don't research it yourself or ask, like, what did that mean?
Right.
That is your fault.
Yeah, it is. It is what Maya Angelou says, when you know better, you do better.
And I'm reading her book right now.
Yeah. When you know better, you do better. And it is, I have been talking about this quote with so many people this week. And Martin Luther King has a quote that says, there is nothing in the world more dangerous than sincere ignorance and conscientious stupidity.
Yep.
And the space between that, and there is sincere ignorance. If you've never had to address it, it's never crossed your mind because it's never been your experience. But now that you know, if you choose to remain conscientiously stupid, you're a danger. Especially
after 2020.
Yeah, you're a danger,
yes.
And so the only way to kind of break through these barriers is to have conversation. I cannot tell you how many calls I got from friends that literally said, I have no idea what I'm getting ready to say, but I know you wouldn't judge me for the way I'm going to say it because I just feel like I need to say something. And there were people that I'm talking hours on the phone, and it was not like a white guilt. Almost. Yeah. Like I just,
it is a guilt.
Tasha, I didn't know, but also, the thing about the other side of that is all the inboxes I got from white women who wanted to give me their story, like all of their story. And then, kind of like, you want me to fix it? What should I do next? I don't know what you should do next.
And I do see a problem with that because, and especially with the people I'm following and things like that, like, don't come to me and ask me what you can do if you're not trying to help. Like, I'm like, everybody that's posting, read this book and you'll understand. Like, I'm trying to read these books. And then when I have questions that I'm not understanding in the book, I feel like that's when you should reach out. If you're doing your part.
Yeah.
It's like, hey, Tasha, I read this. Can you please explain it to me?
Yeah. And the other thing is that you have to look at who's in power. You have to be willing to talk to your white friends about their state of mind. Stop asking me because I'm still Black. There's a whole level of stuff that I have to deal with that you don't. And so you're going to change the people in your circle, not me. And that's why Dynasty Hunt is on Instagram, and she lives in Nashville, and she does a lot of anti-racism education, and I was in a like town hall meeting with her, and they had asked me to kind of share my story, share my experience. And she said, what we're not going to do is record this. So we're taking advantage of Black women's trauma, because every time you have to say it over and over again, you know, and I told somebody that, you know, they wanted to talk about this. And I said, I don't want to talk about being Black for an hour, because what you want is for me to release my trauma because it makes a good podcast for your followers.
Yep.
Are you paying me? You know, like that sort of thing. Like, you're now benefiting off my trauma.
Yeah.
And it's already traumatic, like those sort of things. And I just feel like, you know, it's you having to, you, general you and specific you, having to have those conversations at the dinner table with mama when she is.
And I have.
Yeah. But if you've been brought up in that, you know, like there is someone that I know who is in her 50s, right? And she had to face the fact that she was born in Montgomery, Alabama, which is where her parents were. So we're talking the Civil Rights Act, you know, 1964 Voting Rights Act of 1965. She's just now being born, which means her parents have been living, existing in the racism that was Jim Crow. The only way you're going to get a racism, if you kill all of those people off and start a whole new, like, breeding or whatever, that's it, because it still exists. That's why Alabama is a red state. I mean, let's just call it what it is.
Yeah. Because
it is so embedded, you know, in a Birmingham, in a Selma. Those people still live there, and you've taken that and taught your kids.
It's learned behavior.
Yeah. When a girl that's younger than me, when I worked for the state of Tennessee, I'm in my early 20s, and she referred to me and somebody else as colored. You know, and I had to go look. I remember looking at her paperwork, and I said, well, she was born in 1976 and I was born in 1975. And she's still using the word color. Why? Because she was raised by her grandma.
And I get that it takes that, but it's still sad. It's sad that, because like I said, everything's learned behavior. And for example, all I can relate it to, I can't relate it to skin color. And I try to, when me and my friends do have these discussions, you have to try to make it fit where you can try to understand, even though it's never going to be the same. When I went to school and we were poor and I had Walmart clothes and they called them my buddy shoes. What kid knows to make fun of your clothing?
Yeah.
That is learned behavior.
Yeah. All of it is learned behavior. Sexism.
Yep.
As well. Let's talk about that, you know? And so, but it works on both sides, because like my dad was born in Selma, you know, my mom was born in Sunflower, Mississippi, which is basically like dirt. You know, I mean, like there are parts of the Delta in Mississippi that you would be like, is this real life?
Oh,
like dirt poor. Right. And so my grandma, I'm in my 20s. You know, I've spent my life in magnet schools that were predominantly Black. I went to a historically Black university. So now I'm in the work world. I am now the minority. You know, I'm a Black woman working in a white man's world. And my boss, bless his heart, because he is probably the best boss I ever had. But I remember talking to my grandma. I am 26. And I called my grandma, and she, you know, we're talking, just having a conversation. And I was like, I said, Mama, I just snapped on my boss today and I just did not go to work. She was terrified for me, because here I am living in Nashville, Tennessee. And what she remembers from Nashville is riding up from Mississippi with what she called like the boss man. We were doing work. And so I am in Tennessee talking crazy to a white man. She was scared for my life. Yes. And I don't think people understand that there's a shift on both sides. My grandmother is 85 years old. So being born in 1935 in Mississippi, there are things that are embedded in her head, even though she's lived in Chicago, you know, she only lived in Mississippi for 20 years. If that's how you're taught, you know, the fear that something was literally going to happen to me. And it's me, honestly, in Alabama, having fear for my son. No, you can't drive through Coleman at night, and you need to get on the phone with me. And he was dating somebody who lived in Fayetteville. And I said, I don't want you on a back road. And I had to explain to her, I'm not against you. And his girlfriend was white. I am against something happening to my son coming from your house. Yeah. That's what I'm against, you know. And these are, again, you know, there wouldn't be a certain thing as sundown towns, you know, where we can't be caught after dark if it wasn't a real danger. That's not a part of our imagination. You know, when my grandma was sick, I had to drive to Selma. I had to get up and drive into the sunlight because I had to be off those back roads before it got dark. I'm not getting a flat tire. I don't want to have to use the bathroom. I don't want to have to do anything. I have got to get up off these streets.
Oh my gosh.
And to be like that, my grandma died in 2018. Like, this is still real life. I still don't drive through Coleman at night, rarely.
And I think that's what's sad for me is like, again, you know, this stuff exists, but you live in this world where it's, well, I don't see it.
Right.
So does it?
Right. Because this is progressive. This is like Huntsville's progressive. Yeah. Y'all still voted for Trump. And I'm not saying that Trump or Biden, it's not a necessarily a political preference. It is you watching what has happened and saying nothing.
Yeah.
And saying nothing. That's really my issue, because there's Democratic and Republican. There's also right and wrong. There's right and wrong, you know, and that doesn't always necessarily follow the lines of your quote unquote political party, but you're afraid to speak up because you're thinking your way of power and privilege is going to somehow be attacked if somebody else gets equal. You know, I can't remember who I heard say that, but it's not a pie. Like, you giving me a piece, let me get a piece, doesn't take away from your potato pie. It doesn't.
So as far as, like, I know, I'm not a political person.
Yeah.
Like I said, I will listen to both people. I don't consider myself a party, but what's right is right and what's wrong is wrong.
Yeah.
And I think I know well enough what is wrong.
Right.
Regardless if, let's just pretend I'm Republican. I don't even know the difference. I'm not even kidding. I'm not even kidding. I don't even know if Trump's Republican or Democrat. Can't tell you.
Yeah.
But if I'm a Republican, but I sit here and I'm like, what my Republican Party's saying is wrong.
Yeah.
Why not just vote for the other one?
Yeah, absolutely.
Why does it matter?
Yeah, because I don't necessarily agree with all Black people in the United States. I mean, I just don't, you know? And my thing is, I'm looking for the moral issues that mean something to me. And that's just the way it is. You know, I also look for excellence. Like, in this time of Black people being the flavor of the month, where having a Black person helps you show diversity, I said, you know what I'm looking for? I'm looking for excellence, because I don't want you to put somebody up there and consider them the Black representative for everybody the same way. I don't want to be considered. I don't want that responsibility. I am not the Black representative. I also recognize, Jonna, when this was happening, that a lot of times I'm the only Black person that people knew or even talked to or even considered an associate or something like that. And so in that point, I am the Black representative.
And then they wanted you.
Yeah. And so
then it was a bigger deal.
Yeah. And so when I show up, I'm showing up as Black excellence, because what you won't get is sometimes what people expect. The neck rolling and the finger snapping. I do that.
In your Zumba classes.
Yeah. I also have 2 degrees. You know what I mean? And so.
And how many certifications?
Oh gosh. Girl. And that's so funny. I had a client many years ago. I don't know what she said to me, Donna. I do not remember. I do remember we were on the chest press distinctly. And I said something about playing in the band. She was like, you played in the band? And I said, I used to play the cornet. I used to play the baritone. I had 7 years of Spanish. I had a year of French, all before I graduated from high school. You know, I was in this club. I went to magnet schools my whole life. I mean, her whole face could have fallen on the floor. And I remember saying, don't let this Nike fool you, girl. I was like, I'm a whole person, you know, like I'm a whole person, because she looked startled, because people, again, feeling like the help that my job, I woke up and lifted a couple weights and that was all I knew. Honey, I have more education than you do.
Like, I know you more for the counseling side of it, because that's what I need you for, girl.
Yeah.
Like, I need you to fix me and be my therapist.
Yeah. And people miss that. And a lot of times it has to do with the fact that I don't necessarily discuss it, because I want people to feel like I'm you. Me and you can sit here right how we're doing, have this coffee before you had your bachelor's, before you had your master's, you know, and we're just homegirls. We're having a conversation. But if I have to tell you that I didn't just wake up here, I'm not an overnight success. I graduated from grad school at 25 as a divorced parent of one, and then lost my job the next month. I was like, honey, this is a whole mood. Like, I've been here, but that constant feeling like you have to pull your resume out because people think something of you because of what they see in you.
Which is, I again, can't wrap my mind around it.
Yeah.
Like I just can't. And I mean, that's like the book, The Black Friend by Frederick Joseph that I'm going to let you read.
Yeah.
He talks about that. He talks about how he was the smartest kid in his class. And then like his teacher loved him and everything. And then she went out on maternity leave and they got a substitute old white lady and accused him of cheating because he made the highest grade in the class and was done so quick. She made him retake the test, but he was so startled by that he failed it. And then he said, I had to do bad because I didn't want to go through that experience again. He said he was mortified.
It's crazy. I had a teacher in the 6th grade so in a magnet school, we had class ranks. There are 5 classes for each grade. Top class, everybody knows, right? So in the 6th grade, we basically split the top class because there were a lot of us. So I ended up in this teacher's room. And when I went to the 7th grade, it's not that I had bad grades. You know, one of our classmates died that year. I was having problems at home. Instead of taking that as an opportunity to connect with me as a student, I went from that class to the lowest class. And I had a Black teacher that year, Miss Vaughn, and I don't know if she's living, but God bless her because she really was there for me, to the point that I was the only person in that class that had ever been in a top class.
Wow.
You know, and so she put me back when I was in the 8th grade. But it's how teachers perceive you, which can be an issue. And this was a white teacher teaching in a predominantly Black school. So you look at, you know, if you've seen like some things on Facebook, like how teachers were talking, people who are teaching in predominantly Black schools, the stuff they've been spewing since June. I'm like, I hope you do lose your job, because I wouldn't want my child to be in your class knowing that that's how you really feel, because you can say anything, but people know how you feel. And when you get in positions, which was how I found out several of my coworkers were racist because they were in a space where they felt like I challenged their power for some reason, whether it was intimidated by something that I had or a question that I asked, you know, to be told, well, I don't know who you think you are, but you're not. I don't know who you think you are, but you're not. And I said, if I were an outside consultant with a master's degree in organizational psychology, would you be emailing me like this, feeling like you can talk to me any kind of way?
No, they wouldn't.
Well, you're not. You're not.
But you kind of are.
It was a whole thing. But again, I did, as long as I was doing what you wanted me to do, we're cool. But when you thought your power was being challenged, then who you are, you cannot hide who you are for very long. And then it comes out and you're like, oh, okay, now I get it.
And that's what's sad is everything happens for a reason. Mm-hmm. Did COVID happen to stop the world so that everyone can finally see? Because now the world stopped.
Oh, yeah.
Now everyone saw. There's no denying what people saw.
Yeah.
I still have people tell me, people are just making stuff up. Okay, so 20 million plus people are just making some shit up. Tell me that makes sense.
Right. As my mom would say, so you're saying everybody's telling, or she would say everybody's not telling the same lie.
Yeah, like it's like, oh, so all these people, like, oh, so Tasha talked to someone in California and they had the same story.
Right. Exactly. And even with COVID, I'm like, people are dying, y'all. Like, this is not I heard somebody call it a Chinese hack. And I was like, a hack? Like,
I mean, I do think this is a man-made virus, but I have conspiracy theories on that.
But a hack, like, it's not really real.
Yeah. No, it's real. I mean, I work in the ER.
Exactly. And this is real. Racism is real.
Yes.
And trying to convince yourself that none of it is real does not make it unreal. Like, that's the whole thing. But again, like you said, I think we're being forced to be in conversation, and people when George Floyd was killed and the riots happened, that was a Saturday. I left home. I went and stayed in a hotel room in Nashville. Like, I laid on the bed, staring at the ceiling, watching CNN. I paid money to go to another city to lay on the bed and listen to CNN because I was literally out of my mind. Well, it was that Friday night. I got up that morning like I would normally do. I had a Zoom class. I got up and taught. I am literally not sleeping, not anything. And I had to come back and teach here. And I was the only Black person in the studio that whole day for 2 days that I had to teach back to back. And to feel like, number one, I was alone. And nobody in the spaces that I was forced to be in was living my experience.
Yeah.
And so I have made fun of wanting to call in Black, like people calling sick. I wanted to call in Black. Like I'm just not here for it. But the reason I wasn't necessarily a strong Black woman thing as much as it was. And this is how I've built my classes, my personal training and all that, was because I didn't want someone else to feel like I felt. And if Black people were coming to the studio that day, I felt like it was important to see me there,
to show up.
you know, and also I wouldn't give people the benefit of the doubt. I mean, give them, you know, I wouldn't give them the privilege of thinking that something they did or had power over me would keep me from showing up for work.
But that goes back to being a strong Black woman.
It does. And
because you didn't want anyone to think it broke you. But I remember you getting on your Instagram saying, like, because I'm tired.
Yeah.
Like, please stop messaging me.
Yeah.
Please stop talking to me about this. I am tired. And I get, because what you said, like, you're still Black at the end of the day, and you still have to go home and have these conversations and still live this life.
Yeah.
Versus me and you just sitting here talking about it.
Right. Beyond teaching you how to do a roll up, you know, and all that kind of stuff. And one of the things I did was I said, if you want to help me right now, buy me some coffee.
Yep.
Because I'm not sleeping. Like literally, I know there is work to be done, but I am out of my mind.
Yeah.
And literally, coffee started coming through the mail. I was getting Starbucks cards because I think people wanted to help because they felt desperate because they realized, oh my God, honestly, I'm really part of the problem.
Yep. And I will sit here and say I was part of the problem for so long.
Yeah.
Not that I'm racist, but because I didn't do anything, nor did I see it.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I've considered myself very diverse in my friendships, but I still didn't see it, nor have I spoken up. I will now.
Agreed.
I will. If I hear something racist being said, I will say, please don't say this in my presence. That is offensive. That is racist.
Yeah.
And if it's a very close friend of mine and it continues, we will no longer be friends.
Yeah.
End of story.
But that's a progression. And the thing happened, it shook a lot of people for you to say, okay, maybe I've been a little complacent, but also for Black people to say, either I've been complacent that I haven't spoken up to my friends because I like the prestige that I get for not rocking the boat, you know, and it also gave some, when people call it Black rage, say, we've been pissed off. And now that you're listening, I'm going for it. And that week, several people, influential people that I respect, were like, that whole blackout week, I'm not talking for a week because I need to listen. I was like, oh, so now that I have your attention, let me say this. And I tell people, I'm consistent. I said, I have over 7,000 posts on Instagram. I've been saying the same thing. I've been saying this, whether you saw it or not. That video was a culmination of all the stuff that had just built up because I was so pissed off.
And if you give me permission, I'm gonna video audio that and put it on this podcast so people can listen, because that post shook me to the core. I cried.
Yeah.
And then after reading White Fragility and White Women's Tears, then I felt bad even more that I sat there and cried, because you don't need to see that. You need action versus tears. Tears ain't doing shit for you.
White Women's Tears is a whole thing.
Yeah. And I did not know it.
Yeah.
Didn't even know that it existed.
It's a whole thing, because I'm like, right now, I can't hold you up.
Yep.
You have work to do, and it's not my job to babysit you through that. Baby, you have to come through the fire, you know, and it's almost like an explanation, and it happens all the time, you know, or if I say something, somebody, you know, there's like a 25-page dissertation under one of my posts about how, you know, you gave money to some woman literally was messaging me and posting on my page about how her and her husband joined the NAACP. What do you want? Like a cookie? Yeah, like, you know, that sort of thing. There were lots of people who did things who did not even post what they did. They inboxed me as somebody that's connected to me. I'm learning. I apologize that I have not seen this. Yep. Here's the steps that I have taken. And it was between me and them. There are things that people sent me that was like, you don't have to share. I just want to bless you right now. Not like for my guilt, but just, I appreciate you sharing something that opened my mind. And I want to honor the time that you took to do that. Yep. And you have never seen it on social media. They never asked for anything. They never wanted me to tag them.
They didn't need that publicity notice that, hey, I'm doing something.
But there are some people that have.
Yep.
That have. I want to be your friend.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to give you,
that quote unquote token black friend.
Yeah. I want to be your
I cannot speak today. Term 2.
Yeah. I want to be your friend.
Well, that's what I like about this. That's what I like about the Black Friend book. He actually takes it a step further, and in the front of it, he even puts, "I made this easy for you. Anything that you don't understand, I've made an encyclopedia in the back for you, so you don't have to get on Google and try to figure it out." And I was like, genius.
Yeah. I posted an entire, and I can't remember who created it, and I think I may have gotten it from Koyo Webb's page, but it was resources. Stop inboxing me about what you should do. In my bio is a link of places that you can go, but also Google is free. You can ask Alexa, you can ask Google, you can ask Siri, but it is not my job to have the problem and then tell you how to fix your problem by educating you about my problem. Like, I don't have time for this. Exactly. And I mean, if I had taken pictures of the paragraphs that I got, and I'm like, girl, I'm a whole Black woman right now with a job where I'm the only Black person, and I got 2 kids that I need to explain this to. I do not have time to babysit you, my love. Thank you for reaching out. And I have gotten people who were offended because they wanted to meet me and talk to me. I don't know you, and I don't want to spend 45 minutes of watching you cry about how you didn't know. I don't have time. Thank you for reaching out to me. And then it was like, well, that's the story of my life. People just don't want to talk to me, baby.
No, this ain't about you.
You know
what I'm saying? Like that. Why don't people get that they're making it about them at that point?
But they're used to it being about them. So there's a whole structure that has to be challenged, but that's the individual work. I can give you all the book titles, but you have got to, a friend of mine just thanked me yesterday. I didn't give her a book. She said, I just walked with her without judging her as she did the work herself. That was it. I was with her. I didn't have to do any work for her. I was just holding space for her own journey. Yeah. That was it.
Yep.
And she thanked me for that. And I was like, I haven't really did anything. Yeah, but you didn't turn your back on me either.
And you didn't judge her for asking or not knowing. Like you've never once judged me for anything I've said or asked or anything.
No.
And I mean, I am trying to do the work. I'm trying to read books. I'm on, like I said, my 3rd one. So I recommend White Fragility to start with. That's it's hard read, guys. It's very hard read. The Black Friend's very easy read. It's good.
Yeah.
And then I'm reading a Maya Angelou book right now.
Yeah. How to be an anti-racist is a good one.
Yeah.
But you have to be willing. The same way it is hard for my mother wanted to be a history teacher. But because she didn't become a history teacher, I became her history student. And because, again, both of my parents were born in the Jim Crow South, I have been a civil rights nerd since I was about 5. And it is still hard when I go to Birmingham all the time, Trader Joe's, and it was I actually found the pictures the other day. I guess it was 2018 that I actually went to the 16th Street Baptist Church where the 4 girls were killed in a bomb that somebody set bomb off at the church. And across the street from this church is the park. And this is the park where you have seen all the pictures of the dogs attacking the people in Birmingham. Sitting in my car, I was literally trembling. And so in a year's time, I went there. I went to the lynching memorial in Montgomery. I went back to the Lorraine Motel where Martin Luther King was killed. And I went to the African American Culture Museum in DC. And the horror of the experience. Not that I don't know. Not that I don't know.
But being there.
The horror. And when my grandma was dying, I was in Selma. I literally walked across the Edmund Pettus Bridge. Those type of moments are life-changing in both ways, because I cannot tell you the tears that I shed. And I always went alone for the most part. My aunt kind of like videotaped me of me walking slow across the bridge because she was with me. But this really happened, So 2 things happens. I asked someone the other night, what do you do when you're tired? I'm tired. I feel like I can't. And his response was, my ancestors had it worse than me. I could do this. My ancestors had it worse than me. And that's where I made a post the other day, a picture of my great grandmother who was in her 60s when she did that Selma to Montgomery march. And I said, the days that I'm struggling, I'm trying to think about, what was she thinking, knowing that they had already had Bloody Sunday and they had like basically taken people out for doing exactly what she wanted to do? What was she thinking? How does she feel? Like, and going to bed with that and still getting up doing it. I was like, oh, I got this. I got this. I'm tired. I'm weary. I know it's dangerous to open my mouth. It could affect my business. It could affect my money. And so, because I want to be able to wake up and look my daughter in the face and say, I did everything that I could do. And I don't want you to be afraid to speak up. There's a way to speak up. I tell people, there are some people who fight offense and defense. I don't kick the legs off of a table because I need to have a seat at it. But I'm not saying there are people who won't kick the damn legs off of a table. I think we need both, because sometimes it's like having kids.
Yeah.
My daughter, I could raise my voice and she'd start crying.
Yep.
My son, I'd have to throw books, throw him up against the wall, rip the video game out of the wall. Yeah. And I think depending on who you're talking to, your methods might have to change. But mine is, I want to hear what you have to say, as long as you're not inboxing me to give me a story. It's like why you didn't do your homework.
Yep.
Going to school.
Yep.
I'm sorry, teacher, but the reason I didn't was because my dog. And so what happened was, and then
it's more about just accept your part in it and do better.
I didn't do my homework. I will turn it in tomorrow.
Yes. So now I think it's a place, which I know I told you I'd get you out of here.
I gotta.
But I think it's the place where it's now, it's time, like you've spoken your entire life. It's time, and it's sad that it's going to take white people to speak up on your behalf because I haven't lived it. Mm-hmm. So how can I speak about something I don't know and fully understand? But I think it's time that I have a voice, like you said earlier to me, if you have 2 followers, you have a platform.
Yep.
You don't have to have 10,000. If you have 2 followers and you reach 2 followers and you change their mind, that is your platform. It doesn't matter how many followers you have. Use your platform and do it for good. Whatever that may be for you.
Yeah. It is. Tupac said, I may not change the world, but I will spark the mind of the person who changes the world.
Exactly.
So we all have a platform. And, my catchphrase that I have seen like posted a million places was, I say, if you aren't influencing people to be better people, then what the hell are you doing? What are you influencing them to do? Like buy new socks?
Yeah.
So
thank you so much, Tasha, for having this conversation with me. I would not want to have it with anyone else. Tell everyone where they can find you so that they can look up all these things on your...
Oh gosh. Yeah. You can find me at Sprouts or Starbucks.
On social media, girl.
But those 2 places, if for some reason you see me with a mask on, you can find me at Sprouts or Starbucks.
Which is funny because I'm at Sprouts all the time and I have not seen you once.
I haven't been going much lately.
Okay.
I need to go right now, but I have another podcast I'm getting ready to do.
Yeah, this girl is, she's infamous.
I am, most of the time, I am on Hip Healthy Chick on Instagram. That's Facebook, and I'm there, but I usually spend most of my time on Instagram. And I do realize that I have been like traveling. I've been like on a world tour. I feel like a virtual world tour. And I am going back to my own blog, which is at hiphealthychick.com, just because you write for other people. It can still feel curated. And I haven't written on my own blog in like almost 4 months because I'm like, well, what else do I have to say? I have a lot to say.
You have a lot to say because I said, when you talk, the world stops and listens because you just have this way of bringing everything that I'm thinking in my mind. Yeah. I'm thinking this, but you just articulate it so beautifully. Yeah. So I really thank you for this conversation. And we have to start making time for each other instead of once a year. Yeah. Right. So let me get my shot and then we can hang out. Yeah. I mean, I'm vaccinated, girl. Right. So I'm good. I'm Gucci.
Right. So go vaccinations. I'm here for it.
All right, guys. Thank you so much for listening, and go check out Hip Healthy Chick on Instagram, and see y'all later. Bye.
I woke up this morning to the Blackout Tuesday post, and I was with it. I understand the dance community saying the show must be paused, and I was with it. I woke up this morning and made my post. I was with it. And then I changed my mind. Too many of y'all have come into my space in the past day for me to be silent. As a Black woman in the fitness industry, my experience is that I never get to take a pause. I always have to be on alert. It's part of the reason why I have, close to 30 certifications, because I always felt like I had to be better and have extra just to be considered halfway equal. I'm thick, y'all. I'm thick. And now I'm in my 40s going through premenopause. I am not the fitness model. However, because our industry is so focused on images and not substance, you'd never know I existed. If you've ever come to my class, then you know I teach with integrity, I teach with professionalism, and I teach the hell out of whatever I choose to teach. But you may not know that, because we've created an industry that shows you that everybody looks alike. If you looked up 50 pictures of teasers right now, they'd probably all be thin white women making it look perfect. Because my fat rolls in a teaser isn't appealing and it doesn't sell programs. But you know what it does? It brings fitness and wellness to real people who then begin to see themselves in that position and say, I want to be a part of that. We fat shame in health and wellness. So if we're talking about fat, you can definitely believe that there is racism in our industry. I've been called a nigger at work by someone who's supposed to be managing me, who to this day still doesn't know. I know. So if you're watching this, I just want you to know. I know, girl. I know. I have been told I was too Black to teach Zumba. I mean, I didn't know step, touch, single, double was a racial issue. But yeah, I was too Black. I have been asked, who do I think I am? As if me standing up and having some type of intellect beyond just showing people how to do a body roll was somehow some foreign idea. Because before I went into the gym, before there was a 200-hour yoga certification and a 500-hour Pilates certification and all the other certifications, I had 2 degrees, a bachelor's in sociology and a master's in counseling. People are my business. Who do I think I am? Who do you think I am? Look around you. You know why there isn't a lot of diversity in the yoga world? It's because everybody doesn't have $3,000 to take off work for 3 weeks and go to Costa Rica and only study the sutras. Pilates certifications run 5 G's, y'all. I wanted to take a meditation certification. I have one and it was bootleg, but it was what I could afford at the time. It gave me some principles to be able to add to my yoga classes. So I wanted to upgrade and take another one, y'all. It was $10,000. So I need to pay someone $10,000 to help me teach people to deal with trauma like I experienced when they've never experienced it. Because we can all sit and tell people to visualize trees and beaches, but if you ain't never been to one and you're like me and you grew up in the hood and all you saw were bricks, who are you helping? We're not on vacation. We're in the fight of our lives. What can you do? Other than inbox me and ask me what you can do, start talking to the people in your space. Ask them, why is there no diversity? If you are in position to invite a Black woman, a Black man into your fitness facility, practice, whatever, then why don't you do it? That's what you can do. Read up on the history. Start with Emmett Till. Come all the way through the civil rights movement. The civil rights movement was more than Martin Luther King. And I've seen the post, Martin Luther King never, rioted. Nope. And they killed him. Stuff changed after they rioted after his death. So the passive aggressiveness and I don't see color and all lives matter, y'all stop. Today is the day that you start to ask questions of yourself and the people you align yourselves with. You have the power to change. Me, I'm teaching teasers as